types is going to be a quick release. They look the same, they both have this lever. A quick release, when you open it up, is just going to come out of the bottom of the bike. As so you've got a gap here at the bottom. A through axle, on the other hand, you're going to loosen. And then pull the whole axle out, and that's what's holding your wheel in. So you don't have that open space at the bottom, so you have to pull your whole axle out. If you're fixing a flat on the road or something, you can just throw your release back in while you're doing it.
And this one is the same as the fork release too. Nut, and you're just gonna need a wrench to take it off. So say if you get a flat with the bolts on, the chances of you riding around with a wrench are kind of slim. So you might have to take that in. But it's the same exact wheel, or same exact way too. You just loosen it to where you can drop the wheel out, open your brakes up, and then you're going to be in the highest gear in the back, so the smallest ring, push the cage down so that you can drop it out. Well, yours is really stuck. There you go.
Is wheels a lot like the tread? Is just like regular car tires? Like when your tread starts getting
Thin.
thin, and that's when you need to go and get new tires.
Yep,
And on a road bike, or when they're brand new, they're smooth. You'll notice when they're brand new, they kind of have a rounded shape, and when they start getting worn out, they'll start kind of boxing off. And that's a good indication that you're going to want to replace them pretty soon. Also, as soon as you start getting more than one flat, if you get like 3 or 4 flats in 10 rides, it's probably about time to replace your tires.
Yeah, if you see cracks visible in the sidewall of your tires, go ahead and get those replaced too, because they're just going to lose their shape and pop on you.
Right, so if we're fixing a flat, you've got your valve on one end. The easiest place to get the tire off is going to be opposite that valve. That's where you've got the most space. So you're going to have the wheel out of the bike. You're going to push the bead off of the rim so that it's loose. And then you take a tire lever, and it's like a spoon. You're just going to pop it in under one side of the bead, not both sides, and then you just slide it on both ends. You got one side off, and then almost every tire is going to slide off. Really tight ones, you might have to use the lever to get the other side off. But you take the tire off, pull out your old tube.
I have a silly question. If you have a tubeless and you're out and about, do you recommend? Someone sold me that stuff.
Bacon strips?
Yeah.
Yes. We'll go over that after,
Okay, cool.
after tubes for sure.
Okay.
That'll be like what if you're fixing a flat on this one.
Letting
So
all the air out of the tire, I'm afraid of that.
Yeah, what you want to do is, if the tire's not already off the bead of the wheel, you're just going to pull it so that you can get it snap off, so it makes it easier to get the tire out under there.
So then when you get your bad tube out, you're just gonna pull the tube. And if you have like a hand pump with you, I wouldn't recommend using like a CO2 to see where it's popped. But if you do have a hand pump with you, you can kind of note. I usually just put it next to my leg where the valve came out and keep it, just keep that in mind. And you can air up your old tube. It gives you an indication on where it's popped. So right here next to the valve, it's got a hole in it. So that's an indication that I'll still check the inside of the tire, because most of the time you're gonna have a thorn or something in there, but you're just gonna check all the way around the inside of the tire, all the way around, find whatever piece of glass or rock or whatever road debris popped it, and then you can pull that out so that your new tube doesn't get popped. But since it was on the inside, you're pretty sure that it's gonna be this rim strip in here that caused the flat. So, I don't think most people are gonna have a rim strip in their saddlebag, but if that's the issue, once you fix it at your house, you'll know. So I'm just gonna throw an extra rim strip in here. All right, so I'm at about 20 PSI. I'll pop that off. We'll just visually inspect that there's nowhere where the tube is popped out. So just a visual inspection on both sides.
We typically
It looks
use
good.
in the shop just because it's super durable and it's gonna last years. So, but once you
And then
get
you can air it up to whatever your pressure is.
tire
Pressure.
you want to do is inspect the wheel all the way around to make sure that side of the tire isn't sticking off and just in the popping again. You just air it slowly, consistently, and you're just checking both sides of the tire the whole time you air it out.
I get you sitting right at 60, and just release it. Throw your cap back on.
That sound is the bead snapping into place. So that is not something to be worried about.
That looks
You're gonna check both sides.
Looks like it's a little flatter. So that means the bead hasn't popped quite yet. If you air it up over the recommended PSI to get it to pop, you just want to go ahead and release it back down.
That wheel on the tire is even.
Just to make sure you know.
Like I can see my
You
lips
use
on
these
the tire
tools.
just a little bit.
You can just
That
pop
line,
it.
I'm gonna follow it all the way around.
But if you're at home, you can just, I wouldn't recommend going more than like 10 or 15 over the recommended PSI. But if you go 10 or 15 over and then drop it back down, just to get the beads set, it's no problem. Close. So you're just gonna open it up.
So I say it's sunken in really bad, just deflate it enough.
Pop it back in.
Literally pull on the tires, so you can pull it up and out.
And then with a quick release, you're just gonna go righty-tighty with this lever.
So compressors are okay to use with this battery.
As long as you don't gauge form and air them up slowly.
Okay.
And then once you get righty-tighty pretty much to where it gets tight, so that's a little too tight because it stops about there. Just loosen it until it gets tight about halfway. So then when it's tight about halfway, you're gonna push your wheel all the way in, and then just close it down with your
I'm
palm.
also, as I'm going up, I'm gonna catch the chain. So we're gonna push the derailleur cage down again so that you have slack in your chain. And then you wanna make sure you catch your highest gear, your smallest ring, which your derailleur is currently in. And just use the bike frame to kind of roll up against with it. Catch your chain on that smallest ring. You can use your hand to kind of guide it in. And then I'm just watching my axle go in so my bike frame dropouts and just make sure they're all the way up inside of it. So if you have disc brakes, like Owen,
Yep, you're just gonna either have your clutch off or you're gonna have that release on there. If you don't, you can always just pull that fully down. Your chain makes a circle. It's kind of confusing if you're out on the road and it's upside down. But just think about your chain as a circle. If you're just gonna go in the middle of that circle. Take the 2-axle out. And you're just spraying sealant all over. I would say ride for maybe 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how much sealant you're losing, just to see if it'll seal on its own. You want it to seal on its own. But if it's just too big and it's not gonna seal, just pull over, find out. It's gonna be pretty obvious. There's gonna be a big blob of latex sitting on the tire. And you have these bacon strips. And a bacon strip applicator. It's kind of like this type of tool. So just peel one of these out. It's the same idea as a car tire, but it's just smaller. And you're just gonna thread that bacon strip in there. And it is usually fairly difficult to get it through.
We kind of have those preset like in our back jersey pocket. So if you have to
Oh yeah,
have
that's
it,
before the ride, especially.
set
if
it
you're racing, would be a
in.
good
So you're
idea
not like
set
trying to
in
thread
there.
it when your
Yeah,
tire's
because
losing air.
The
And
little tubes are hollow and they have a cap on it and that just sits down inside of it. So I always have it in my back pocket when it's
Two,
Mhm.
I mean, you have two with you and you replace it. At one time, I did have, a frame bike pump, but it was so hard to operate that I just gave up on it.
You can use
What's the-
CO2 as well.
Yeah, those little cartridges.
The little cartridges, they're single use.
How do you
One-
know how much air is
The whole
being
cartridge.
released?
Yeah,
The
you
whole-
just use the whole thing
Okay.
regardless of the tire size.
Okay.
It's not gonna air it up all the way, but it's enough to get home. One thing to
Okay.
note is if you do put CO2 in your tire and you come back the next morning, it's gonna be flat. The CO2 molecules are just smaller and they escape quicker.
Okay.
So when you get home and you air it up with CO2, just release all that CO2 and air it up with a floor pump.
Okay.
That should be alright.
can you guys show them how to use a CO2 pump? Because I could
Yeah,
see.
Alright, so once you get your bacon strip in there, you just want your big blob of latex, just wipe that latex off and find where the air is leaking out. And you're gonna put the tip of that tool right on the hole, and then just press, I mean, as quickly and as fast as you can, all the way down to this plastic piece, the top, and then once you get it in there, it's gonna be kind of in a V shape. You're gonna just kind of hold it close to the tire and then pull that out super quick. It should seal it up pretty quick. They work for almost anything. If it's more than,
So they come with a head and a cartridge, typically with some levers and everything like that too. After you get it out of your bag, the head has this like activation that as soon as you press down onto your valve, it will engage and start releasing the pressurized air. So don't screw this into the head, the cartridge into the head of the pump until you need to use it, because as soon as you do, you'll puncture it and it will start slowly leaking CO2, whether you can hear it or not. So once you have the cartridge in there, that's super stuff. Again, as soon as you get it on there, make sure your valve, if it's pressed the valve, the nipples open all the way out, and then just put it on and engage it.
and it'll get super cold in your hand, but just try not to release it. You wanna use that whole cartridge.
Alright, so that cartridge gets like ridiculously cold, so.
Thanks for showing that.
If it's summertime and it's real humid, you'll see the humidity freeze to the valve.
Yeah, so they do make cartridge pumps that have like a little rubberized handle that you can slip on the cartridge too. If not, just use your shirt